Oh,
Ah, okay.
That
Okay,
would be fun.
this one more time. Okay, so I'm going to go and dive into our workshop now. Okay, so does everybody kind of understand which way we're going with this? I just need you to differentiate between what I'm going to be talking about that's for the assignment that's due today, and then I also need you to help me or with your partner write out what we need for the new material that I'll be working on real quick here. Okay, so hopefully you guys are, if you want to write it, that's cool. If you want to type it, I'm fine with that too. Just probably want to have some notes on what's going on. Okay, and it is recording again, so we should be in good shape. All right, let me go ahead and share the screen again. And as I was saying, I think before it dropped out with you guys, right now we have main. We're making our fighter. We're not giving an option to reroll or anything like that. You just get what you get. Don't throw a fit. And we have dice bag up in our fight tools, which is the only module we have currently in there. We're going to make a new one that's going to be called fighter creator or competitor creator, something like that. We want to make something that is going to make new fighters for us. So we're going to make a new Python file. Let's see, I'm going to call it, let's call it fighter roster. Okay, so we're just going to make a bunch of fighters in here. So I'm going to be using a lot of the same kind of stuff that I am for my basic fighter. So I'm going to take that class of basic fighter. I'm going to put it over here. Okay, so they're going to have a name. They're going to have a strength, agility, power, basically everything that our main player has. And I'm going to change this from basic fighter to, let's see, competitor. Okay. And now we have everything we need there. And let's see, what all are we going to need? We're probably going to need, we're going to need to state what we want here. So Glass Jaw Joe is the name of our instance we're going to make of this. And does anybody remember how to make an instance of a class? Anybody at all?
I believe it's just class and then whatever you want to call it.
Okay, well, we have our class, which we're calling competitor. So
Yeah.
then if we're going to make an instance of a class, so we have classes, we have a parent class, which is pretty much what competitor is going to be. Competitors are in our parent class. And then when we make child classes, like some of our fighters are going to have special attacks. So those are going to be child classes of our parent class of competitor, because after this guy, we might have Soda Popinski, which is a Russian fighter. And what he does is he's able to do a flurry of punches. So he'll have a separate function that'll kick in every once in a while. And that'll have a special function that he'll need for just his character. So that means we're going to need to make a child class, but then we're still going to make an instance of that child class whenever we actually want to assign values and things like that. So what we need to do is we're going to use competitor. And then can anybody tell me what we want to say inside of the parentheses here? Anybody have any ideas? What do we want to say inside of the parentheses to make this instance?
All the variables that we're going to use separated by commas.
Well, we can kind of look at this like a, I mean, yeah, we're going to fill in the information for the variables, right? So we need a name first, which is going to be Glass Jaw Joe. And then we need strength. We're going to say let's say he's a 4. Agility, I'm going to say he's about a 5. And power, he's a 4. He's a low powered fighter. Anything below 5 would be less than average. So he's got one thing kind of going for him as far as agility, but otherwise I think everything else he's going to be kind of lacking. So I think that looks pretty good to me. Now we have our instance of Glassjaw Joe. We can kind of move on to something else here. Now we're not really going to need a whole lot here. We're not generating any values or anything like that, so we don't need to import anything. We will need to import the fighter roster, however, here in our main setup. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We don't have to do that here. We can do it in our fight module, which is what we're going to do next. So we have our instance right here, and we have our dice bag. We're going to need one more. We're going to have a fight module. What that's going to do is it's going to take care of all of the fights for us. So it's going to have all the information we need for how they beat each other up and all that kind of fun stuff. Okay. So we're going to make a new folder or new file, sorry, new Python file. We're going to just call this one the fight. We need to do it lowercase. Okay. So this one's probably going to need quite a few things. So we're going to need to import dice bag. Whoops, got to do fight tools. Come on. There we go. Dice bag. We're just going to leave it circular like this so we can call in whatever we want. We're probably going to need several different things from that. And then we're going to also do an import of fighter roster. So we still start off with the same thing. Have to be case sensitive working with that. Fighter roster. And then what else do you think we're going to need? We're probably going to need, that probably is it for now. I think we're in good shape. All right. So once we get through all of this right here, we get through all the if statements. Rolling is true. Rolling is, now we're back in the main program right now. Player one hits this guy. Okay, you want to keep hitting that guy. All right, so this is probably more what I'm going to put into one of the functions. I think I was just using this to show what we're going to be doing. I'm going to put that in here just to come back to. But we have all this running, so as soon as we have this taken care of, we're going to call our first function, which is going to be just beating the guy up. Okay. So first thing is going to be the checking to see who is faster. Okay. So for now, I'm just going to put this into quotes because that's going to comment this out. Okay. There we go. We can come back to that. All right. So we've brought some different pieces in. We need to make a fighter first. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to call that function. So what we want to do from here is we want to make a function that we're going to call. So we have this information laid out here. Initially, we would have it say like, you know, who is in this corner, who is in this corner, that kind of thing. So we could do that. And I'm going to go ahead and get that set up. Announce fighters. Okay. All right. And then to announce fighters, we aren't really going to need a whole lot here. We're just going to need, we don't have to send any arguments or anything like that. And I'll show you what we're going to do with that here in just a second. So we're going to need to tell it everybody that's in this whole setup here. So first off, I think I will go ahead and have it make, well, no, we don't have to. Let's go ahead and we'll need to also bring in. Now, one nice thing about this, the fight module that we're going to be working with here is that it's basically going to be full of a bunch of functions. Okay. And in this case, functions don't care where they're placed. If you had some code down here, like let's say we just had a piece of main code that was running print something down here and it called one of these functions, that function better be above it because the computer needs to read through that function before it gets to any of the main code. Okay. But if it's all functions, then those functions can call each other from anywhere on that page, anywhere in that file. So anytime we're working with just functions, we're okay to call those functions from anywhere inside of that space. But if we start putting in code that is not a function, this is like main code for this module, then we need to make sure that whatever function it's referencing or any functions those functions are referencing are above that main code. So just something to keep in mind as we're going through this. Okay, I'm going to go back up here, and what I want to do right now is I want to pull over the information that I'm getting from the main. Okay, so we have the information about our fighter. That's what I want to bring over. So what I'm going to do is call this one import fighter info. Okay. And this isn't necessarily going to be a big change for anybody, but there is one big change we're going to be making here with the way we're using these variables. Okay. So first thing is we're going to be bringing in some information from another module or another piece of code, another Python file. So in this case, we're going to have to feed some stuff over to it. In this case, we're going to just grab these right here. So we need name, strength, agility, and power. Okay. So we're going to do name, strength, agility, power. I want to make sure they're in the same order all the time whenever we do this. So make sure you're not, getting off onto something else here. But here's the part that I really need you to pay attention to. I'm going to use the word global, name. Let's see. What I'm going to use in this one is going to be, I'm going to call it fighter name, just to differentiate, equals name. Okay. So inside of the fight, we have, you know what, just to differentiate even further, I'm going to say player name. So we know this not the fighter we're up against. Okay. I'll probably use the name. Let's see here. Player name. Yeah, we haven't used player name yet, so it's not lit up. So it's okay. Next one, global strength. We're going to use player strength equals strength. That'll work. Okay. And then we're going to do agility, player agility equals agility. And last one, global power, power equals power. Okay. So what we're doing here is we're making all of these variables available to all the other functions by saying global. Okay. So anytime you make a function and you make a variable inside of that function, it's considered a local variable. It's only used within that function. Okay. But if we say global, then that means anywhere inside of this module that you want to use that information again, you can now because you've made it a global variable. It can be used anywhere. Okay. Now there's one more trick to this, so we're going to get to it in just a second. But as far as making this information available to everybody or all the functions, this is going to take care of it. Now there's one more thing we're missing. And what we want to do is keep track of the power of our fighter. So what we're going to need to do there, since our power is kind of like our health, it's like the ability to keep on pushing through. Okay, we could have used stamina or something like that, but I thought this might be easier. We need to make one for current power. Okay, so current power, actually give me just a second here. I think I did that backwards. I'm sorry. I need to do it this way. There we go. That's better. I was like, really those should be lit up by this point because we are stating a global variable. Okay. Whoops. Wrong place. Okay. Current equals power. Okay. So we're just initially setting current power to power because that's where we want to start off. Now, as our character gets hit and they take damage, they're going to lose it from their power. Okay. So that's why we want to have current power, because let's say we have a round ends. They are going to go to their corner, might get a little bit of power back as they get to rest. So we know whatever we do to allow them to get power back, we don't want them to go over their original power. We want that to be able to get up to that point and stop. Okay. So we need to have original power, and we also need current power. Just keep track of where we're at this time. Okay. So this will import all the information we need for our player. And we'll be able to take this information and put it into our announced fighters. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Let's go ahead and put that into announced fighters. We're going to go ahead and show you how this works. So go ahead and put that there and make sure my indentations are in the right place. Okay, let's see, print. Yep. Now, obviously, this is something where, we needed to have it set up with the if statements that we had over here. So I could probably just pull these. I'm going to have to change a lot. You guys have seen this here. You just need to move it over into this setup, and we would use it inside of announce fighters for both of these characters. So for right now, I'm just going to announce it in this corner with a strength of, let's see. Now we can just say, at this point, we can just say player underscore strength. Okay. And an agility. And we'll load in player agility. And a power of that one. We're going to say player power. Let's see. V, and then we're just going to put in the name, the player name here. Okay. So what we should get when we do this, we're going to just go straight to announce fighter. Okay. So what I'm going to do is we have this right here, and then I'm going to call announce fighter. So when we do that, we've got to import all the information for that. So we're going to have the fight right here, and I'm really just going to call announce fighter. So I don't really want to do all the other stuff. I'm going to do from fight tools dot the fight import. I'm going to import announce fighters. So there we go. All right, we're looking good there. We're not really using skill roll at this point, so it makes sense that that's not being used. But right here, we're going to call our announce fighters. And announce fighters is going to need some arguments that we're going to send off. Okay, so here the setup. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. It doesn't need anything because it's going to pull it from up here. I was thinking of import fighter info, but it's going to do that here. Okay, so before we get that, we're going to import fighter info. Okay. There we go. Just checking on a couple things here real quick, make sure that they're going to be coming up okay. Okay. Actually, I think I'm just going to send that over separately. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send over, send that import fighter info over. So since I'm going to have two, yeah, I guess I'll do it twice. It is for something different, so. And let's see, it'd be import fighter info. Okay, so first we want to import fighter info, and we're going to send over name, strength. Okay, actually, and just to make sure we're getting the right one, player one dot name. Okay, I'm gonna let it autocomplete because sometimes I've had some IDEs give me an issue when I type it in. It likes to do it itself. Strength, player, whoops, agility, and player one dot power. Okay, so that'll send everything over. I'm gonna go ahead and pop that down just a bit so we have that ready to go. Everything looks okay. Our fighter info is there. We're talking to our first two functions that we're building, and it's just importing that. We're going to add in GlassJawJoe here in just a second. Let's see how this works and if we're going to have any issues. Okay. All right, random number is 8. Just making sure the random's working. What would you like to name your fighter? Okay, so we're going to get some errors. That'll be good because we want to have you guys work with me on that. In this corner, 32, now it's 5. Player agility is not defined. Okay, so let me go back up here. Did I spell it correctly? Agility, saying player agility is not defined. So let me check here. Player agility. Yeah, it's having it. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Haha, that's easy to fix. All right, try one more time. There we go. All right, so Slug and Sullivan has a strength of 9, also has agility of 6 and a power of 3. Okay. In this corner, we have Slug and Sullivan with a power of 3 and agility of 6, but you really want to watch out for Slug and Sullivan's strength. Okay. Agility of 6 to power of 3, the Slug and Sullivan. So we have a few different print statements that are running right now. First one that we have is printing out our random number, which we have right here. Okay. And then it's asking us, what do we want as far as the fighter's name? We're getting that right there. Okay. And then we have Slug and Sullivan as a strength of, okay, which is right here, this print statement. It's just giving us our basic information that we need. So we know that whenever this thing's working correctly for whatever the commenter is saying about the highest value that our fighter has, that our strength should be last. So that is the case here in our next one. It goes through our if and elif statements, and it does print the one with strength being the highest, which is what we want to have whenever we announce things later on. And then it gets to the one where we're actually getting the information over into this space. So we can see now in this corner with a strength of 9, agility, and a power of 3, the Slug and Sullivan. Okay, so it is working and it is pulling in our correct values. Okay, so if we didn't do this, if for some reason we pulled all this in and I didn't do global variables here, I'm gonna comment these and see if we can get an idea of real quick what we would end up with if we didn't do it this way. So let's just see what happens. I haven't actually, see, it's graying everything out. It doesn't like any of that. So yeah, we definitely want to be able to use global here. I'll just leave that alone. We'll just go ahead and move on. So we have our announcement of our fighter right here. Probably going to put in a line break just to make things easier to read. And let's put another one in. And we're going to do our next one. So the next one's going to be kind of fun because we're going to pull in the information for our fighter. So we haven't used fighter roster yet, and we're about to. Okay, so here we go. We're going to say F. Whoops, I need to put the format right there. I'm going to pull this back too. And in this corner, oops, like there's a little delay with my stuff here. With a strength of, now here's how we're going to do this for our other one where we're pulling in the information. So we got to do the whole long thing unless we do the from, which I might end up doing. Let's see here. Let's do from And it's going to be kind of like what we did up here, you know, just from fight tools.fight roster, import. And I think this is going to work. Actually, I haven't done an import of an instance, but I think we're going to be okay. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's see what this person wants real quick. Make sure it's not important. I think we're okay. Yeah, we should be good. Okay. All right. So back into the fight itself. In this corner, we have strength of, and this is real easy to change if we have to. We're going to import glass Joe, which should be all uppercase. So that's probably why it was giving me an issue. There we go. There's our instance of glass Joe. We're just going to use it down here now. And we should be able to see that thing light up at the top. Glass Joe dot strength. Okay. An agility of, we're going to go with glass Joe again. And we're going to say agility. Just do not have enough space on the screen. A power of, we're going to do glass Joe again. Dot power. Okay. And then we're going to go for our last thing. We have name. Okay. So this should print out both of their names. Make sure we keep that carriage return in there. This should print out everything for Glassjaw Joe. Let's take one real quick look over here. He should have strength of 4, agility of 5, and a power of 4. So let's see if that's what we get when we run this. Okay, so we got our fighter. Okay, let me move some windows out of the way because I can't see stuff now. Okay, so we have in this corner, we have a strength of 4, an agility of 4, and a power of 10, these Slug and Sullivan. And in this corner, we have a strength of 4, an agility of 5, a power of 4. We have Glassjaw Joe. So those are the values that we were looking for. He does have a strength of 4, agility of 5, and power of 4. And we got his name. We're able to pull everything in. So anytime we want to access those features for Glassjaw Joe, this is how we're going to do it with that dot notation. Even if you do a circular import like this, this is what this is called. I'm sorry. Let me back that up. This right here, with the import and the from, that's a from import. Then the other one that we do where we say import this and then we end up having to use the the long dot notation all the time, that's a circular import. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you ever come across that, that's what's going on. Okay, so we have our information coming in. We can use it now. All right, so if we want to make these guys fight each other, we want to have them go through a while loop. Okay, because we don't know how long they're going to fight. We know that the rounds are going to be a certain amount long, but we're not going to be able to do anything. Well, let's see. What do I think of? We don't know exactly when someone might get knocked out. We don't know when there might be enough points to have a technical win or anything like that. So we want to use a while. Most often, I think you're probably going to be using a while for things that you're just not sure about, right? So what we want to do is while, let's see, while round, no, see, because round is already a function that we're going to use. What's another thing we could use for a round in boxing or fighting or anything like that? While turn, I guess we could say turn. What do you guys think? What could we use there? What's a variable name we could use for a round of fighting that's not called round? Well, I guess we could call it fight round. That way, it's not a function that's already being kept. While fight round is true, we can just say, well, that's true. And I'll need to make sure that up here at the top, or at least above where we're starting that while, fight round equals to true. Okay, so we're going to start there. Okay. And while fight round is true, we're going to randomly, we're going to have them fight each other. So we're going to need to import the dice bag. So we have that right there. We imported fight tools.dicebag. We're okay. So we're going to use the dot notation for dice bag. We're going to use skill roll probably most often. Okay, so while fight round is true, we're going to see who goes first. So what we're going to do is I'm going to make two variables that we're going to use a good bit. So we're going to have player role, and we're going to have competitor role. Okay. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to bring in the skill roll. We're going to use the skill roll setup. So we need to use fight tools.dicebag.skill roll. And the value we're going to put in there is going to be, for our player, that's going to be player underscore agility. Now I want to bring this up right now because what we're doing is we're bringing in the global value. Okay, when we need to change that global value later, we're going to use it in a different way. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing here. Fight tools dot dicebag dot skill roll, and we're going to use glassjaw dot agility. So what we're doing is we're just comparing like how fast each of them are. Okay, and now we're going to start a little if statement. If player role is greater than, and we're just going to give all the chances where they might match up to each other. We're going to give them to our player just to be nice. If that's greater than or equal to competitor role, then we're going to do this. We're going to have our player go first, and we're going to have a fight function for the player's turn and the other guy's turn. So we're going to do, let's see here. We're going to need another function. So we'll call this, just to show you how these things can work. Now we have our while fight round right here. We're probably going to, this is going to be considered a main part of code at this point until we turn it into a function, which we're probably going to do later. But just to kind of give you guys the idea of how this is going to work, I'm not going to write while round into a function just yet. I'm just going to get us, oh man, it's 12:40 already. Okay. Well, things fly by, don't they? All right. So we're going to just jump in here and we're going to have them fight. So we're going to call def player turn, and that's a function. So we don't necessarily need to send anything that way. We want to have our player try and hit Glassjaw Joe. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to roll and see. Let's see. Player competitor. We have player turn. Let's go ahead and add this one in too, since we're here. And there's going to be competitor turn. That's their turn when they're going to try and hit back. Okay. So if the agility is higher for our player, we're going to go to our player turn. Okay. Else, we're going to do competitor turn. Okay, so we got both of those. So we would just want to see who's going to be able to hit who best at this point. So we're going to compare. Now, as fighters get tired, they're not as good, right? So initially, they're going to be really, really fast, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take, we see who's fastest. Let's see, now we're going to compare power, okay? Whose current power is good. So they might have gotten a good shot, but did they get to land it, okay? So we're going to compare power now, okay? So player's turn. We're going to say, let's see here. We're going to do a skill roll again. And we're going to kind of run similar to what we have here. Okay, so we're going to do player strike. I call it that. We can just make up whatever we want. It's fun. Equal to, I'm going to just copy this out since we're going to be using the same thing. But instead of player agility, I'm using player power. And same thing for the competitor here, but I'm going to call it something else. I'll call it competitor strike, competitor dodge, actually, because they're trying to stay out of the way. So that's Glass Jaw Joe power. Okay, now these are gray right now because I haven't used them anywhere yet. So we're going to compare if player strike, oops, is equal to, I'm sorry, is greater than. So here's one thing. Whenever we actually get to the player's turn, we're always going to give an equal amount to the person that's being attacked. So the defender. Okay. So in this case, if player strike is greater than competitor dodge, then we're going to do this. Else will cover less than or equal to, so we don't have to worry too much about that. We're going to do this. Let's see here. We're going to print. We're going to use the name of our character. So we're going to say player. Oops. What did we call it? We called it player name. Okay. Player name. Well, that didn't come up on its own. I'm not really sure. Hits. Glass Joe dot name for. Okay, now here's where it's going to get a little bit tricky, because what we're going to do is we're going to compare the strength of both of our characters. And so the strength is going to be how much damage they're going to be able to do. But we don't want it to be like if we have somebody who has a strength of 10, we don't want them to be able to just drop them at 10. So we want to make it so they damage each other a little bit more, so they can keep fighting, so they can keep going. So what we're going to do is take the amount that we have for our player strength. So we're going to do player. I don't know why that's not coming up on its own. That's a little bothering me there. Player strength. Player strength divided by 2. Okay. So what that's going to do for us is it should give us, here it says the strength is 4. So he's only going to be able to do 2 points of damage. Okay. With that kind of setup. So he should be able to do that. And then at that point, we want to subtract from our competitor, from their current health. We want to subtract a certain amount of points. We want to subtract 2 in this case. So we're going to say competitor current health. All right, so something we're going to need to do. We didn't really make that a global variable yet. We just announced the information here. So what I'm going to do is do competitor current health. And I'm going to do global competitor current health. And that's going to be equal to competitor. Let's make sure we're using the same information here. Or power. We're not using health, we're using power. I'm crazy. I'm not very smart at this. Okay. There we go. Competitor underscore Actually, it should just be power. And that'll be glass. It's not coming up the way I'd like it to. That's no fun. There we go. And it should be power. Okay, so whenever this first comes up, we'll have a global variable for that. We should be able to use elsewhere. All right, shows name, player strength divided by 2, competitor current health equals. I'm just going to do this long form so you guys already kind of know what you're looking for. So I say that instead of doing it like this, where we would do competitor current power plus or minus player score strength divided by 2. Okay, so that's going to give us what we need right here. Now, one other thing I'm probably going to run into an issue with. Does anybody see a problem with any of the stuff I'm bringing in here? Is there a possible issue that any of you can foresee as I'm looking at this right now? Because we're going to start to use some arithmetic operations. Well, maybe we'll see it once we start working with this. Okay, I'm going to try and hurry as quick as I can so we can talk a little bit more about what we need now. If it comes down to the wire and we want to describe this stuff tomorrow, that's okay. Okay, we can do it during class because we have 2 hours. Yay. So player strength is divided by 2, and then we're going to feed that back into competitor current power. So I think it might be easier just for you guys to see it this way. And we're actually going to see quite a few different issues when we start doing this here. As you can see, it's still gray, so that's going to be something we're going to have a problem with later on. All right, let's see here. Fight round, player agility, fight tools, everything looks good. Let's just see where we start having issues. Now, right off, it's having a problem with competitor current power right there. Let's see. There we go. I don't even have to run this. So expected on 42. Oh, yeah, I did put a colon there. That'll take care of some things. All right, let's take a look at another thing here. All right, unresolved reference competitor current power is having an issue, and 49 is looking for an indent for some reason. I think probably because I have nothing on that. So that's going to take care of some of the issue there. Now we're back to current competitor current power, which is giving us an issue. All right, so the reason for that is competitor current power is up here. It's being applied to glassjawjoe.power, which is cool. We got that import working for us, so we're okay. But it is not recognizing this as the global variable that we're using above. Okay, so does anyone have any idea how we can get that to work for us? Probably not, right? Okay, so since this is going to be changing, okay, since this is something we're assigning a value to, okay, we're not just reading the value in like we did up here, right? We're not just reading player strength in. Now we're wanting to change it, okay? So if you get into a function and there's a global variable that you need to be able to alter, okay, you need to state again, the global variable that we're messing with here is that same global variable, okay? So that it knows to affect that global variable. If you just type in a variable name here, it thinks if you're trying to assign a value to it, that this is just a local variable. It's not thinking this is a global variable because you didn't state, oh, hey, this is the global variable that I want you to affect, okay? So now I think we're gonna be in a lot better shape as long as I spelled everything the exact same way, which I didn't. I left an R out. There we go. Now we're fine. Let's just see what happens here. I'm gonna put in a print statement here in case we get to that point. Let's see. This would be the competitor's turn. Okay, so let's just see what we get. Okay, we're running. All right, we have a problem with player agility on fight tools on 51. Okay, that's fine. Player roll equals fight tools.dice bag, player agility. Okay, so it's having an issue with that. All right, let's figure out what's going on there. Player agility, did I spell it wrong? Oh, everything's locking up. All right. Oh, hopefully it's not too bad for you guys. All right, so player agility is right there. It's being brought over without any issue. Player turn, player power. But we were looking at this one right here. Okay. Player agility, some kind of issue. Now we're not changing this or anything. We're just feeding it over to another function. So does anybody have any ideas what could be a problem here? Because we're not feeding this into a global variable. This is something local. Player role is something local. Okay, I'm going to go back up here, see if we see an issue. Anything at all?
Maybe that player role isn't on that list.
Player role. Well, player role is going to, as I've been saying, this is going to be inside of this space right here. So fight tools.dicebag.skill roll should be able to pull in player agility without any trouble. Now let's go check and make sure skill roll has a value that it brings in and it uses. So we're okay there. This is the first time we're really kind of bringing things in outside of a function. So it's possible what we need to do. Let's see here. We already called that. We sent the information over. Player agility. Yeah, I'm not real sure why that didn't want to work with us here. Let me take a look here real quick. I almost want to just go ahead and turn that into, let's see, as soon as we do announce fighters, I'm going to do this. Fight initiative. So when we're checking the initiative in like an RPG or something like that, we're checking to see who goes first. So this is essentially what we're doing here. We're checking to see who's going first. Okay, shift that over. And this while loop will run through, and it'll keep running us through competitor turn and player turn now. Okay, so what we're going to have to do is at some point in time, we're going to have to convert this back to fight round because we're going to end up with an endless loop. Let's just see what we end up with now that we have a function set up here instead of just a bit of code. Sully. Okay, we get all that. Okay. Now we never actually called fight initiative, so we want to do that here. Now I have a feeling we're going to end up in an endless loop because we didn't say any reason why the while loop should stop. But let's just see what happens. All right, so we're going to call, as soon as we announce everybody, we're going to call fight initiative. Okay, and that's going to send us down here. And then, like I say, I have a feeling we're going to end up in an endless loop. Okay, Sully. Okay, there we are. Yeah, endless loop. Let's take a look at what we're getting. I stopped it. Okay, Sully hits Glassjaw Joe for 4, for 4, for 4. Okay, so I didn't catch how much Sully's hit was worth initially. Boy, we got a lot here. I had to really scroll up quite a ways. I did not catch his stats before we got into the fight. Usually one of the things you want to do with these kind of text-based setups is you want to give the opportunity of for your I'm trying to think of here, for your player to have some kind of feeling of control. So any point in time you can stop it and say, hey, do you want to keep fighting? Then you want to give them the option to do that. And also some options of different things they can do whenever you stop. So it looks like Sully this time had a strength of 8, an agility of 1, and a power of 6. So it definitely makes sense why the competitor would go first because his agility is so low. But that means we're just going to go back and forth and back and forth. But it looks like a few times here, because Glassjaw Joe's agility was so high, he got 4 attacks, and then we only got 2, and then we got a few more here from Glassjaw Joe, then we got 1. So you can see how often a person with a higher agility is going to be able to attack. Okay, they're going to be able to go first, so that means they're going to be able to deal damage more often. In this case, hits Joe for 4. Let's see, our strength is an 8, and we're taking our strength and dividing it by 2. So, I mean, our player hits pretty hard. Sully hits pretty good. He's not too bad there as far as that goes. So this is essentially what we're going to be looking for as far as what's going on, getting you started with your initiative, and then this is how they're going to hit each other. Okay, so after this one hits, what we need to do is check and see. Well, if the we're almost at time. So after this, we just check to see, is our competitor out of power? If they are, then we knocked them out. If they're not, then we're going to have it transfer over to competitor turn, and we're going to have the competitor turn run. Okay, and then when we get to the end of this, the way we're going to drop out is, and I'll show you here real quick. I'm going to have it go to, it may, I don't want it to drop out completely after just one of them, but I guess that's what's going to happen. Then after this, we have to have one that asks you, do you want to keep fighting? Do you want, or, you know, I guess you don't really have much of an option. You have to keep fighting till you're done. But I think since we've run out of time now, I'll probably have to kind of wrap it up. So I'm just going to stop that share. There's a good bit of information there, and I can write everything else out since we didn't get to the point where I'd allow you guys to go through that. I thought I'd go through the code a little bit quicker, but I'll hang out for anybody who has any questions. For everybody else, if you feel like you understand what I went through today, mostly about the global variables and how you manipulate those, then I'll just give me a thumbs up if you feel good about it. You guys can move on to whatever else you need. If not, hang out and we'll go over questions. So Camilla, thanks. Cameron, thanks. Appreciate it. Got the
Thank
thumbs
you.
up. Thank you very much. I see that. Dave. Okay, Will's good. Okay, looks like
Bye.
y'all have a good one. I'll try and get this video up as quick as I can.